think, Rags, you were going to go into the functionality and exactly the purpose of Texan token. You were going to go a little more into it now.
Yeah, let's go into it. So this is actually pretty cool because, let me check chat here. I think I recognize quite a few. Yeah,
A
I
couple
recognize
people are
quite a
giving
few
you a
names.
shout
Yeah. Guys, do not like, comment, or subscribe to me, but like, comment, and subscribe on this channel. These guys have it under control here. I love it. And by the way, guys, very professional and well put together. Thank you. So if you guys listen to my content, I don't really talk about Texan that much. And the reason that I don't talk about Texan that much is because there is, we see why. The SEC is snooping everywhere. And I just want to make sure that we stay safe and we can weather this storm until we get some more leadership in the SEC. But in terms of Texan is the first endowment token. So what do I mean by endowment token? Well, all this ties back to this. If we were going to approach an organization that uses the endowment structure, okay, and really is a perpetuity endowment, they're used to maybe taking donations and locking those donations up for sometimes 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, forever. And they want to use that to have some sort of operating money for operating costs. So what we did with Texan was we kind of mimicked it after that. We said that you can take Texan token, for example. You can lock it in the contract. It's going to give you trustless yield. There is no OA associated with Texan whatsoever. It's going to give you a base percentage rate of 5% per year. Bigger does not pay better with Texan. Longer pays better. So the longer that you lock things up, the more yield that you will receive based on that. So the first year will be 5%. If you keep it locked up for 2 years, it'll be 5% plus a small multiplier. So it ends up being about 6%. So for 2 years, it's 5 plus 6. You got 11%. Okay. And this is paid out in Texan. This is paid out from the contract. And again, there is no OA. There's actually a special variable that calculates this for you at the end of your stake. But you can stake up to 22 years. If you do stake up to 22 years, which mimics, again, the crowd that we're going after is kind of used to those time horizons and those time frames. If you stake that long, you can get a maximum yield of about 87% per year, and that's averaged out over 22 years. Okay, so essentially that's how this works. Pretty neat. No OA. Extremely simple. Very simple front end at texan.cc/stake. You can get more for delaying your gratification. Where did we get the motivation as well to do it this way? Well, I mean, Richard Hart specifically said in many, many videos, he said, listen, if you're going to create something, then create something with yield, a yield structure, and make sure it's trustless. So we kind of took that to the extreme. Like I said, we destroyed the OA, and it's just you and the smart contract.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like almost like a 401k only crypto style, right? It's kind of like a retirement plan almost. That's what it's kind of sounding like.
Yeah, and here's the neat thing. This is the thing that I saved for you guys. The big innovation here is, let's say that you're 5 or 6 years into your stake, and off of your principal, let's say you have 40 or 50% sitting in some sort of yield. You're able to scrape that with no penalty. So you can actually go in and you can scrape that, you can take that, and you can move it where you want to move it. And I think that's the really, really cool thing. You have the ability, Hex has something called staking ladders. We have something called scraping ladders. Okay, so you actually don't have to sell your position in order to scrape off your interest. So I think that's the really, really big plus with our contract. Now, our contract's different. I certainly wouldn't say it's not like better than Hex. It's just different than Hex. Hex has a T-share system, which is extremely robust and awesome. Texan, we wanted to make extremely simple due to the fact that we were going to be onboarding lots and lots of people who are no coiners. So
I love that. That is absolutely perfect, I would think, because like oftentimes, especially when you start like diving to the weeds of the T-shares and all that, right?
Yeah.
I started like, okay, well now I really need to like sit here and look at this and like try and figure it out, right? And it does get a little bit confusing sometimes, especially if you're like brand new, right? And so I say the simpler that you can make it, the better that people, or the more likely that people are going to want to come in. And once we start hitting mass adoption, which should be decently soon, you know, probably next cycle more than likely, but it will definitely be seeing, you know, tremors of it this cycle. We're going to need things like that for sure.
Yeah, we you know, and ultimately the primary utility of this is just to tokenize a community. But the cool thing about this is it's actually, in my opinion, it's better than 99% of any crypto out there, any smart contract, any project. The tokenomics are insane. When you do stake, it actually burns that supply out. There's 100 trillion supply. We launched with 3 trillion. And now, due to staking, we are down to 834 billion of these Texan token. The only way to actually get more supply into the ecosystem is by a stake maturing and finishing. And if you do end your stake early, all the penalties for those early end stakes, those are burned permanently. So they're not redistributed. They're gone. That actually makes Texan token deflationary. So, now, don't get me wrong, there's a massive amount of supply, but over time that supply does decrease, and that's even evidenced on the blockchain now. We have a stats page, texan.cc/stats, where you can check that out as well.
I got a couple of questions for you real quick. So I know you said there's no OA. So in response to that, are there any admin keys, or it's completely immutable? Nobody can shut it off.
Nobody can shut it off. The keys were destroyed at launch. The keys do not exist.
No more keys.
Nope.
Nice.
Well, to be fair, I mean, if you shut down the internet, you could destroy it.
Well, the whole world would be screwed if that happened. So everything would be fucked.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, so when you were describing the scraping mechanism for not having, what's the penalty? So let's say I'm making these are theoretical numbers. I stake for 3 years and I get a 15% return, and you can end your stake early and scrape some of your yield, but you're getting 50% out of it.
Yeah, you're getting 50. So we're nailing people upside the head via 50%. If you do decide to do that. Now, some of the FUD that inevitably I'll get in the future when people watch this, they'll say, "Oh, that's just BS. You're just trying to get people to lock up so you can dump on their heads." And I'm like, dude, listen, we give people the ability to actually scrape, which is really, really cool. Okay, so you actually do have some options other than ending your stake. The other cool thing is, if you do have to early end stake, what can you do first? You can actually scrape before you early end stake, so you can actually get more out of it. And then the other thing is, you know, what is it? 90% of people actually don't stake in Texan. So it's a very, very small portion of people actually do that. So yeah.